See my face.
Oh, are you live now?
I am. Hi, Tom. Welcome. Now that I can see everything. One of those things. They keep changing everything and how it's done. You are the first one. I don't know why anybody cares, but because I talk to you all, but that's okay. I'm just not that competitive when it comes to who's first. Jono. Hi, guys. Hi, Jono. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. Do that. Then I can see that better. Teresa says hi. Hi, Teresa. How's everything going where everybody is? We actually have an unexpected sunny day here. It's like weather changed suddenly. Teresa says, next week I'll try to be number 5. Well, good luck with that. I don't know how you can arrange that. Just be a guess. Ian says, hi, everyone. Yeah, okay. I was moving around. Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your week? Happy birthday to your mom. I know, she just turned 96. I called her this morning, and she's having trouble with her hearing, so I had to repeat myself a lot. She doesn't understand that when the phone is on speaker, you don't need to put it up to your ear. That actually makes it harder for her to hear what I'm saying. And I had to call my sister's phone because my mother did not have her phone with her, and she now has no room for voicemail. So it was pretty entertaining. But my sister is taking her to see uh, the movie that just came out with Hugh Jackman about the Neil Diamond interpreter. And so I'm sure my mother will really like that a lot because that'll be something she enjoys, and then taking her out to dinner. So I was told when to call, and I got up late. So I had to call as soon as I woke up because I slept in this morning, which was unusual and nice for a change. Tom says, it's good over here in Australia. I have my Nan over for a couple of days. Oh, awesome. And I'm glad that it's good over there. So you just had your summer solstice. Congratulations. We had our winter solstice, so we get to see more of the sun and you get to see less of it. And then we'll meet again in what, March. And Carla says, aw, I want to see that too. Song Sung Blue. Thank you. I knew it was something like that, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get the words correctly. So,
Everybody knows one.
yep.
I'm
I
not a.
always thought it was song sung, song instead of sung. It's like, I actually saw Neil Diamond once when I was a teenager. Went to a concert at like a cocktail lounge or something. It was an odd date. I got chewed out by my date's mother and my date for not being as appreciative as I should have been. They expected a certain level of verbosity on the, oh wow, this is fantastic level, which I did not provide. So it was entertaining. Tom says, I buzz cut my hair on the summer solstice. All right, because it's too hot, right? Carlos says, I would have loved to have seen him. How lucky. Yeah, seeing him was fine. He was not in his best form, I don't think, that night, but hair in my eyeball. Fun to have that. So, anyhow. Yeah, did I bring that other piece in? I thought I did. Oh, yes, I did. Okay, I just finished a piece this morning, and I'm thinking that this could make a good protective talisman for somebody. This is a piece of petrified wood, and I put some labradorite beads on the top that could be charged up quite nicely. Better look at that. Probably covering up the design. There we go. So, yeah. I could see it on here. So, yep, I'm I'm having fun. I was gonna use that piece of petrified wood for something else, I think, but I looked at it last night and I thought I'd make a nice pendant. So that's what I've been up to. So week's been pretty good. This was no, let's see. Wednesday was Christmas Eve, so we were at my son's for tacos, which was a lot of work for them, but it's become their new Christmas tradition. They started it last year, so we can look forward to this apparently for every Christmas Eve forthcoming, and then Christmas Day with my daughter at her house for a more traditional Christmas dinner. She had turkey and stuff, which was a nice dinner, and yeah, so that's what we did. A lot of socializing, a little bit exhausting mentally, but it was fun. Carla says, "That's beautiful. It looks like a witch's bottle, potion bottle." Yeah, but it's not. It's a rock. Donna says, "Beautiful piece, and I love petrified wood. I don't know about labradorite. Labradorite is a really good thing for like reflecting negative energy away from you."
Yeah, it has the same kind of physical appearance as tiger eye, except it's greenish, bluish color depending on the
Right.
exact
It
one.
comes in a couple of different forms. The blue, well, that's spectralite I'm thinking of. That's called the blue stuff. But yeah, it's really awesome stuff. I like it. And I liked the color of it. I thought it went well with it. I just got some new beads in. So I got some really good quality um, magic beads. So I got like labradorite and rainbow obsidian and black tourmaline and some different colored, like various colors of moonstone in two sizes. Um, I got some ruby micro micro what do you call it, faceted, and also some kyanite microfaceted, and then I used the kyanite on something the other day. I tried making, and I got some angelite, so I tried making a type of bracelet using the angelite and the kyanite. Now I have to figure out how to finish those off because bracelets only work if you can finish them off, as it were. But yeah, I'm having fun learning some new techniques and so forth. And then this one here is one I finished not long ago. I really like the color on this one. I think this is an azurite cabochon that I bought. So, whoops, I had it the wrong way. This is the way it goes. So I had it flipped around the other direction. That's the good side, the shiny side. Tom says sometimes lab can be purple and yellow. Yeah, there's a lot of things that come in varieties of colors. I mean, like garnet comes in all kinds of colors you don't usually think about. Most people know about the green um, garnet at this point, and of course the normal dark red garnet, but it comes in other colors too. So it's kind of an interesting stone as well. I think that's true of most of the stones out there. It depends on what minerals mix with them when they're growing as to what color they become. That's why diamonds also come in different colors. It's like, yay! In fact, I like colored diamonds better than regular, clear white types. I like the colored ones because I find them more interesting. I like colors. Melissa says, hello, Siofra Indian. Hi, Melissa. And I've used labradorite to kind of protect myself from spirits that I don't want to have an action with, and I charge them up that way. Like I had a labradorite pyramid that I took with me when I went on trips to hotels and motels and things like that, and set it up as part of my shielding that I would put up in a strange location, and programmed to no one who can come in unless they're invited, and no one's invited. So I go sleep. Because I have a hard time in those locations. It's It's very challenging. I've seen all sorts of things in hotel rooms that, like, oh yeah, I could have lived without that. I mean, geez, the fights that people have and whatnot, all sorts of things, not just the spirits, but yeah. Hajo says, "Hi everyone, beautiful pieces, Siofra. Thank you." And I'm making some more wands too. I got some tops on the other day, so I'm gonna sift through the new beads I've got and see what I want to add to them. So, yeah, fun all around. Is let's just sit there and think creative thoughts and put things together. And the full moon is coming up, so we're going to be doing our live amethyst crystal moon charging on Friday this coming week at our 7:30, which has become my time, become my usual time to do it, at least for now. And I'll put up the notification and stuff for that for people who want to participate. And we do have a video just on that ritual itself that we put out, so on the channel, so anyone who's interested in finding out more about it can watch that and use it any month when you want to do a full moon charging of your amethysts. My hair is getting on my nose and tickling me today. Either that or the angel wings are out. They do that sometimes too. Carla says, "Woohoo!" Yep. Looking forward. Melissa says, "I had a really odd dream the other night and I wanted to ask you a question, but I forgot." I'm sorry. I can't help you. You're going to have to remember. Dom says, "When I do my mantras, I blow the energy of it from the mala towards the spirit that bothers me to bless him and lessen his anger." That sounds fun. Hajo says, "I would imagine labradorite would have the cleansing, charging, and mystical properties of aurora over a northern Canadian winter night." Yeah, that's not a bad description of it. It's very pretty with the colors and flashes that it has. So yeah, I like the fact that you can like make something beautiful and then charge it up and wear it as a talisman and no one else will know. It's secret. Only you know what it's for. I turn that right side, yeah, it's still the right side out. I messed it up again. John says, "Reading my comment, it sounds like I question your choice of labradorite, but I really was saying I know nothing about it. I've heard you mention it before. It sounds really cool." Yeah, and I didn't think that you were questioning my choice, so I got the idea that you wanted to know more about it, which is why I've been yakking. And Tajo says, "True." Yeah, it's one of the things nice about jewelry when you're a witch. Like you can have all kinds of magical stuff going on, and other people just see it as decoration. "Oh, that's pretty." "Yes, it is. Very pretty. And if you touch it, you will die." No. Things will shrivel up, fall off.
I'm just listening to my ears that way. I wasn't purposely like staring at
Well, that's okay.
you.
Melissa says, "I read some of Barden last week. Really nice material." Good. We're glad to hear other people are reading him. He's very illuminating. Carla says, "Ha." Now I made my nose
he
itch.
really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does. Can't believe how tickly my face is. That's a rather bright light. Looking outside to see what's going on.
I was hearing something faintly. I don't know if it's voices.
Or birds.
Sorry.
Tom says, "What would cause spirit attacks? What would be the main reason for my sleep paralysis?" Well, it's something in the brain that's not working right as far as it's paralyzing you as if you're asleep, but then you become conscious
Well,
during the process.
my feeling is that it's not unusual that everybody undergoes it. It's just most people never are conscious enough to realize it. And my feeling is that when you start noticing it, that's a step closer to actual out of body travel because you're noticing it and aware of it. I think it's basically you're becoming conscious while your body is still too asleep to move. So,
And as far as spirit attacks go, if you are actually undergoing spirit attacks, that means a lack of personal boundaries and setting up your magical protections. And so anyone who's undergoing any kind of psychic attack of any kind, I always recommend that they learn some shielding and, how to cast a circle and of protection and set up magical boundaries on the spirit plane, change the energy in their room. There's like, generally speaking, spirits that would attack you are attracted to darker sources of energy and things like that. So if you fill your room and your space up with light energy like selenite and sweetgrass and things that bring a lot of positive energy that fill your space, then those things should drop off. So it's a matter of us figuring out how to protect ourselves and what we need to learn how to do in order to succeed at it. I guess it's one of our challenges being in a body. Jonna says, anyone besides me find your favorite stones in your local stream? No, we don't find most of our stones in local streams. We have some places in Oregon that have some cool rocks like sunstones and garnets and things, but
Yeah, there's one of the beaches that have a lot of.
right, and agates,
south
a
near
lot of agates and things.
Bandonish, yeah.
My daughter picks up agates at the beach on a regular basis, but we don't have. I mean, we have some favorite rocks, but
Of course, we want to drive a little bit to the river of Powers. That's where we found a whole bunch of petrified wood. Tons and tons of it. We just picked up a few of our favorite pieces.
Carla says, a friend of mine got me some books by a girl named Lisa Lister. I read her book Witch and thought it was adorable. Cool. Teresa says, I had a weird experience the other day. I went to my road at the foot of my driveway. I turned to the west and the energy felt really light and clear. Then I turned to the east and I felt a wall of negative energy, like a giant map, extending a quarter mile or more. What could cause this? I don't know. Some negative people that live there, perhaps? Or something happened that was bad that never got cleared out, like a massacre, a murder, or something of that nature. Melissa says, can you speak on the plasma Barton talks about?
I'm going to have to give me a little bit more on that because I don't remember anything about plasma, particularly in Barton's thing. So
Yeah.
maybe rephrase it or. I'm sure I'll know what you're talking about, but right now I don't.
Tom says, I've got a selenite tower on my bedside. I've also got a black tourmaline cluster under my bed. Those are good things to have. But you might want to do some more active stuff like casting an active circle, bringing in protection. Ian has found something.
In the context of Franz Barton's Hermetic teachings, plasma is not a term he used. Rather, it appears in a single search result as a modern interpretive reference by a secondary source, suggesting a conceptual link between Barton's concept of energy manipulation and the scientific understanding of plasma as a fundamental, all-pervading energy state. So he didn't actually say anything about plasma.
Okay. Clarified. Crystal says, how do you build up and maintain etheric energies? Kind regards.
Build up and maintain.
Etheric energies. Is that Akashic energy?
Again, I'm a little unclear on the etheric energies exactly, but there are astral forces and forms that can be used, and mental forces and forms on both those planes. If you're familiar with the Hermetic four planes, in Hebrew it's Absolute, Braya, Yetzirah, and Asaya, and that corresponds to the spiritual, mental, astral, and physical planes. But I don't know about etheric. If you mean like actually in the ether, Akasha, you can't really
accumulate.
You can't really accumulate them and maintain them, so that would be something different. So
yeah, because that's like the universal energy of all time and space that goes back and forward and through everything.
Well, it's already everywhere. As far as it can be, it's so subtle it's through everything, and so it can't be accumulated because it's already everywhere.
Yeah, you can work with it.
Yes, you can work with it.
And you can sort of accumulate it temporarily for, while you're working with it when it comes to that, but you can't maintain that
so
connection.
If, again, maybe I just See, I'll just see what they say. Dictionary wise, etheric.
Teresa says, no one lives there, but maybe I should explore. This is recent. Yeah, who knows? Imagine says, hi everyone. I hope you've been well. I have, and thank you. Melissa says, well then, and thank you. Jonna says, Tom, I've had it twice. First time was awful. Then I researched it, so the second time it happened, I could stop it just by knowing what it was. Never happened again. It's historically been a thing. Imagine says, after 2 years of medication, traumatic experiences, healing work, and Fey help, I'm finally starting to get better. Thank you, Siofra and Ian, for the help along the journey. You're welcome. I know this is a challenge sometimes, being in a body and trying to figure this stuff out.
Okay, so from this definition, what we're talking about for the etheric energy or the energy body, etheric body is a concept in esoteric and metaphysical traditions representing a subtle energetic layer intertwined with the physical body. So this would be talking about your astral and your mental bodies as a blueprint for health and a conduit for life force, prana, and chi, higher dimensions. So that's basically what it is. Then what was the original question about how do you build
Accumulate
up
it and maintain?
So that's for healing and stuff. Well, there are all kinds of ways and all kinds of energies. And the energy blueprint, so they're talking using it like you used to do in the psychic healing where you've got the blueprint and it
right,
goes
imposing down. Imprinting the
Yes.
new blueprint for health onto the
So
body that way
yeah,
to
so
follow like a plan.
so some of the ways I just put out a video recently on how to influence yourself in various ways, and I forgot to mention one in that video, but that is energy breathing. This is a good one for if you want to increase those etheric energies. You can breathe in healing force and basically prana and chi, and you breathe it in and picture it as a light force. You can breathe it into your body and accumulate it. So if you've got a specific spot or something you want to heal, you can either bring the energy in, and the methods Barden use are breathing it in and breathing it in like you're breathing it in through your pores, as if you could breathe air in directly from your pores, as if they were working like your lungs. And you bring it in and you use your willpower to compact it or compress it into whatever part of you needs healing. So if you're having a, an elbow pain or something, whatever part, he recommends don't accumulate anything in your brain or in your heart, but any of your other organs or anything, you can bring the light energy, accumulate it, and if you're doing it right, you'll feel it like a pressure. As you bring in more light energy, it like increases. It's like feeling an internal pressure, and you don't want to get it past the point where that becomes uncomfortable. So things like that. And it doesn't have to be the healing light. You can use the planetary energies and bring those in. There's lots of energies you can use just depending on what your purpose are. But for general healing, that's just the white light, prana, chi, whatever you want to call it, same thing. Breathe it in, accumulate it in the area that needs healed, and then while you're doing that, you impress it with two ideas. One, that it's going to stay in that place that you put it and not like just dissipate back out into your body, that it's confined to that location where you need to heal, and then that it will keep renewing automatically as its force diminishes. It'll keep automatically renewing from the universe until that part of you is completely healed. So that's one example, and there's lots of other energies and things you can like that, similar fashions.
So Crystal says, thank you guys. And Imagine says, it is. Chronic diseases are horrible, but your light has been helping me lots. I'm glad. And Teresa says, why not the brain or the heart?
Well, because
without them, you're dead?
Well, because you can overdo it. And if you overdo it in your brain, you go crazy. And if you overdo it in your heart, you die. And so it's basically that simple.
Yeah, without
so
them, you're dead.
He recommends not doing it at all. Myself, but I won't take any responsibility for anybody's health. But myself, I would say if you do it and don't overdo it, you do it so that you're healing. I would say it's a perfectly healthy thing to do. You just don't want to overdo it. You don't want to cause any issues. If you start doing it, you feel your heart thumping or anything like that, stop. And same thing with your brain, mildly, but don't like Yeah, but he said it's okay to use those energies in those places. Okay, so if you want to heal your heart, you could breathe the energy in and out of your heart. The only thing he said was don't accumulate it in either of those two places.
Right. So you
Leave
can
them
do
at a
like a
normal
heart
level.
meditation and
Right,
open
right.
up your heart and let it move it
So you can
through.
bring the energy in if you want to do it that way without accumulation, saying you need to heal your heart. You can breathe it in to your heart and then breathe it out from your heart and imagine it taking away all the bad things, all the weakness or whatever it is. If you've got a heart condition, taking that away, and then you breathe in more healing and you breathe it out. The only thing is you don't compact it and leave it in there to heal something because it's not safe to do with those two organs. As long as you just leave it at normal level, you breathe it in and then you breathe it right back out when your next out breath.
So Crystal says, is the Maharic seal similar to that? And she adds that the Maharic seal is from the Kalanic science as explained by Ashayana Dean. Something I'm not familiar with.
I'll look that up. I love learning.
So Ian's going to look that up. I haven't heard of that. Carla says that's mentioned in Lisa's book. She calls it She and Womb Magic. Tom says, thanks for your concern, Jono. The experiences are subsiding because of the mantras I use for protection. When I started it up, it got worse one night because the spirit was losing its hold. Yes, they tend to get aggravated when things aren't going their way, which is a good sign. Jono says, thumbs up to Tom.
So no, it's a little bit different thing, the Maharic seal. It sounds perfectly valid for spiritual protection, energy alignment, and such. So I guess the answer to the question I think we're actually offering here is that would be another way to affect etheric energies, kinds of things. This is this method here has similarity to the Kabbalistic cross used in the pentagram ritual. That's sort of similar to the seal idea, and of course the banishing pentagram ritual consists of the Kabbalistic cross and the pentagram and the hexagram symbols both. Just a similar type of thing.
Carla says, do you breathe in, tighten your pelvic area, breathe out, release pelvic area? Not really.
Not for that. That's more
Core
of a
breathing and breathing into your centers. You want to keep your physical body relaxed when you're doing it.
Carla, what you're talking about is more like one of the pranayamas from Hindu stuff. So yeah, it's more like a pranayama from the Hindu stuff. So this is not quite the same. Barden says this is the basis of the pranayama exercises, or this idea that you breathe in an idea put into the air and it goes into the akaja element of the air, and then you breathe it in and it spreads throughout your body in that fashion. Those type with the tightening of the pelvic area and things are related to awakening certain energies in certain areas, especially in the Kundalini system or in Hatha Yoga, to bring your body energy centers together. So they're slightly different systems.
Yeah, and if you're going to get good at like pore breathing kind of thing.
Yeah, you want your physical body as relaxed as possible for that. Sorry.
Right, that's
sorry
what I was about to say.
Yes.
We're finishing each other's sentences.
Siofra is absolutely correct.
Yep. So Max Paula says, smiling, hi. Imagine says, what healing mantra are you using? Do you recommend a special one? I'm not using any particular healing mantra except for the healing chant. Well, I guess that I came across and I liked, deep in my bones, the goddess is alive, that one. Because I like the imagery and it really helps me to focus and so forth when I'm doing that.
I think that counts because that is basically the same thing as a healing mantra. The idea is it works through repetition over and over and over again, so it gets charged up the same way. It gets
This is
charged up more
true.
every time you see it. It's just like a really long mantra, and it doesn't, you know, repeat itself like mantras usually.
Yeah, and I have some poetry and stuff like that that I do, like the Aurora invocation in the mornings, which is a long thing.
I don't have any mantras that I'm particularly fond of. I have a couple that I do on practice. It's a Soham or Hamsa, which was given to us by our guru in Portland when he was up there. And that's one of the ones I use, not so much because he gave it to us, but he didn't give it to us. One of his students said that's the mantra they use up there. It wasn't really passed on to us like they do. Um, but that's one of the main ones. And then I use, there's one to invoke guidance of some Kundalini um, masters and things. That's Om Namo Guru Dev Namo, and that's repeated a bunch of times. Om, you make contact with that deity, and it's related to the passing of the golden chain idea of the golden chain of teachers in their past lineage. So, yeah.
So Crystal says, thank you so much for taking the time to check it out and advise on it. Appreciate it. Carla says, like a Shakti type thing. That was mentioned too. Yoga was mentioned in the wall, that too.
In with all
Thank
that
you
too, yeah.
with all that.
Yeah, and the
Thank
Shakti
you,
thing,
Ian.
there can be I don't know if you're familiar with Shaktipat, but it's where someone initiated into the subject and the science will uh, can put their Shakti into you to awaken some aspect of your Kundalini or your, as we were talking about, we can call it the etheric body or your astral or mental body, and waken that up through a touch or even a glance if they're a really advanced yogi.
So Tom says, why don't you get into the frame, Ian? We'd like to see you too.
Oh, well, honestly, it's part of my social anxiety thing. I can talk and stuff, and that's okay, but showing my face makes me really nervous, and I'd have to, like, I'm just here in my t-shirt and my pajamas, basically.
Well, they wouldn't see those, the
No,
pajamas.
but
just
still,
the t-shirt.
my beat up old t-shirt and that, yeah.
Yep.
Hair's not combed, I'm not shaved, I mean,
In other words, it
Yeah.
would make him anxious, at least for now.
That's the biggest thing is my anxiety issues. I'm okay on a video, but doing it live is
A whole nother
it makes me
game.
want to freeze up and I can't think of what to say.
Yeah. But he's gotten a lot better
But
over
thank you.
the years that we've been doing this. When we first started it, he couldn't even stay in the room during a live show for more than a few minutes at a time. So there's been he's made a lot of progress as far as being more comfortable talking to everybody. So, everyone is where they're at.
Yeah, it's slow. It's just I've been that way all my life, kind of. So
Yeah, it takes time. Jono says it's great being here, and Siofra and Ian have so much that you can't find in there. You guys have to read Initiation into Hermetics. It's legally free. You can download a copy.
Yep.
Stone's Orchard says, after the last live, I studied a lot the pentagram ritual. What I am wondering is, what is the meaning and purpose of the words used? What are the insights about it to make sure on what to focus?
Well, yeah. The intent is all important in that. So, like the Kabbalistic cross is Atem Malkuth Vegedula Vejebera Leolam Amen, or Vejebera Vegedula Leolam Amen. Either way, those are Hebrew words, which means basically thou art the kingdom and the power and the glory. Amen, basically. But what the intent of that is to reach up to the divine light, and that's the Ate, and that's the first creation and outbreaking of the divine light, the first creation of the universe, the original divine light is that Ate, and it comes down and enlightens you. And then you bring it all the way down to the earth, and that's the Malkuth. And Malkuth means kingdom. So that means it's not just the earth, but what's called the zone girdling the earth, which is all the creatures in the astral plane and around the earth. And then because you brought down the light from above, it's a complicated subject. I'll go ahead and explain this one part of it, but all of it takes as much explanation. You bring down the light into the earth, and you've got the light from above. It's the divine light. It's the akasha that's through everything. So by the means of this divine force, and you should feel it as divine when you bring it down, you are now in command of the entire Earth zone. So by this divine force. So in other words, you're like working under the aegis of a deity, that type of thing. Okay, so then that gives you enormous power that you bring up from the earth up to your center, up to the Tippereth, the solar center. At which point it goes out to Geburah on the left and Gedula on the right. I'm sorry, people, if this doesn't mean anything to you. I'm just going to explain this one thing. So sorry about me taking so long. And on the left, you bring in, when you do that, you put that energy out to the left, infinite mercy. You become infinite mercy. You let that come through you. That's the power that's invoked, and it comes back into you. Then to the right, Geburah is the sphere of Mars and infinite power. So you let that energy go out. And because by virtue of the divine energy, this is all still the energy coming from the crown, and the energy that's now coming up from the earth element goes out to your right to Geburah, and that's the infinite power. And because it's the divine light, that gives you control of that infinite energy. And then you bring yourself back to the center again and bring in that infinite power. So now you have infinite power and infinite mercy within yourself that you're visualizing. Then Le'olam Amen throughout the generating ages. So this is like forever. So you visualize the star. Now this energy is going through you. It's coming out in a cross, and then you visualize it coming out of your chest and going out behind you, the infinite past and infinite future, encompassing all Akasha and the universe. And this is your divine self. So Le'olam, and then Amen finishes that up, and you're on to the next part of it. So I advise you to do some studying, and I believe there's some videos that I explained all that on.
And also the one where you did it in the meditation, you explained those concepts
I turned
as the meditation.
I turned it into a meditation, which is not. It's not like just doing the pentagram ritual astrally, but it accomplishes the same intent for self-development, but not banishing. It's what I turned into the meditation was just for self-development, but basically learn the symbolism of the symbols. And because it's the pentagram ritual is well known, you won't have any problem finding out the meanings to the names and symbols and things and what they mean. So
okay, so Carla says, I feel you, Ian. I only recently started turning on my camera with our grid charging.
yeah.
Imagine says, we're here for you guys, insight. If you're more comfortable not showing your face, I support it. Jono says, I remember the start of this, Ian. You have made so much progress. And Teresa says, Ian could get one of those wooden cutouts like a cowboy or character and just have his head showing. Yeah, but then his head would still be there, so that wouldn't solve the problem of seeing his face.
I might work eventually on getting on camera a little bit.
Hey, you know.
Sometimes.
We might. We'll see. All right.
I like wooden cutouts, so what would the rest of the cutout be, I wonder?
Well, that would be the
I'd
outfit.
have to pick something entertaining.
Yes. Pirate?
Nah.
A magician, a sorcerer, someone with fancy robes. That'd be fun. Yeah.
Sure.
Anywho. Yeah, we have a lot of videos up there, so some of this stuff you'll be able to locate, but it's hard to know where to look sometimes.
And the pentagram ritual is, I don't want to overwhelm anybody with that. It's very rife with symbolism. It's better if you understand it, but the most important thing of all is just to do it. So, you do it, and the doing of it itself will help your understanding grow about those things. You'll feel them coming in. I mean, if you start pulling in the light from above, that type of thing, it'll start affecting you more and more each time, and it'll actually teach you about itself as you do it to a large extent.
Yeah, that's the thing about all this kind of stuff. It's like it gives you an insight that is not easily expressed in words.
And part of what happens with something like the pentagram ritual that's so well used is that when you do it, you also make some connection with all the people who know something about it. And if you focus on that a little bit while you're doing it, imagine you're a master of it and you're making connection with somebody who knows everything about it, that kind of thing. You can actually pull in some of that energy and reach some understandings that way.
So Teresa says Ian could get sorcerer, yes, with a Groucho nose and glasses. Jano says, you know you have a really nice voice, Mr. Coyote.
Oh, well, thank you.
He does have a very penetrating voice.
Yes, I can be extremely loud sometimes.
Without meaning to even, and
Without
startle
meaning to,
people
yes.
as well as pets. Stone Orchard says, don't be sorry, these informations are pure gold. This is incredibly rare to find to this degree of detailed precision and quality in books. By the way, what are the best to read on the matter of speaking of books?
Well, Barden's stuff is by far the most accurate. It's also, and it's the best stuff for your self development, self initiation, and stuff. He didn't write it to be interesting, so it's not exciting magical book, but it is, the most accurate about how everything really works.
Carlos says, I'm going to add this amethyst cylinder to charge up. I've never seen one before, but boy, is it ever cute. I guess it's the core of stone candle holder.
Oh, cool.
I saw your picture of it, and it looked pretty cute. Yeah. Like, why not? Anything amethyst, charge it up. Charge it up. Imagine says, I was thinking of making a selenite crown. Do you think it would help me somehow? Selenite on my head feels like acupuncture to me. Actually, I made a crown out of kyanite and selenite, and yes, I used kyanite is like a rarefied air, like a higher level of air. It's not, it's the air element, but not just the element, but more the mental plane aspect of air or something. I don't know how to describe it. And so it really helps with far seeing, being able to use clairvoyant vision and so forth. And then selenite, of course, brings all that light energy. It's difficult to get selenite beads, but I just found some actually. Tejas has got some selenite beads, and you have to be careful when you're working with selenite because it's very soft. It's only 2 on the Mohs hardness scale. And so what I did in the crown I made was I used the kyanite over my third eye and then spread out pieces of selenite and kyanite around the thing. And when I wear it, the kyanite lands right on my third eye and sort of activates the entire device, I guess. It's sort of like a device at this point, and helps to bring that energy into my body. So absolutely, I think it would be great. I think we should all have them and wear them periodically just to kind of, energize our all of our different bodies and stuff like that, and to help acclimate to those types of energy fields. So I would say yes. And let me tell you, I'll type this in here. I wasn't sure at first that they were real. That is the name of the company that I got the beads from. I'm always anxious when I first order something from a new company, and I went directly to their website and they had a 20% off, and I ended up buying, like I said, I bought lapis and selenite and angelite and rainbow obsidian and ruby and tourmaline. I mean, just like all sorts of stuff there, and moonstone. I just had a blast getting all kinds of things, and it wasn't very expensive. I would have paid a lot more money for these products, and it came to my door. So I'm convinced that they're real. So now I can recommend them. But anytime I do that, I always use PayPal to do it because that way I can get my money back without
Well, it's the
having to
name
worry.
of Tejas. Tejas is a yogic term. It's a subtle form of both Pitta and Agni, which is a fire aspect in the body. It can be defined as inner radiance or the fire of the mind. Speaking of the name.
And they're in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So they're not in India, but they might be getting their
Well, they have
stones from India.
Well, yeah. If they name themselves that, somebody must have. Whoever named it that.
I would
has some
think someone
connection
knows
to
what they
yoga,
named it for, right?
Yeah.
Melissa says, thank you. Brianna says, I think I was abducted by aliens or fairies on Christmas Eve. I saw a red light fill up my room and I lost consciousness, and the next moment I was lying in bed with no memory of what happened. Well, it sounds like that could be, because that's one of the reasons they think that happens from the stuff that I've been looking at is that whatever they're in is sort of apart from time and our time and so forth. It's like a different kind of time. So you could be there for a minute and lose hours in our reality because it's like a separate place. Carlos says, I've heard good things about Tejas. And Brianna says, my room completely red like a dark photograph room. Imagine says, so cool. I do have dream predictions. Maybe the selenite would help lots. Could be. Jono says, if you want fun magical reading, then Jason Miller is good. If you want serious magic, then it's only Barden. If you want good ceremonial stuff, I've heard Lon Milo Duquette is good, depending on your point of view.
Yeah, Lon has some specific points I don't quite agree with as far as aspects of dealing with spirits, but he's done a whole lot of it. He's done a lot of the goetic stuff, and personally, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, we've met
him a couple times, yeah. But yeah, so he does have good information if you want to do the typical. He is what I'd call the advanced typical Western magic, but he's definitely very advanced in the art, and he's been doing it for a number of years. In fact, he got started up here in a community in Oregon. It was a commune over, I forget where it was.
Was
now.
it Central Oregon?
I think it was over near Glendale somewhere, but I don't remember either. Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, he is a really good source, but just nobody puts out the knowledge out there accurate like Barden does. Yeah.
So Tom says, had to have breakfast, but I'm back. Good. It's always good not to be hungry. Brianna says, I heard red light is good for the brain, so maybe they were helping me? Maybe. Stone says, how did you learn your crafts, and how do you reconcile the differences of your practices and discussions about their working? Or maybe you see it the same way about most stuff?
Well, mostly we don't have differences, and a lot of them, just like we saw earlier when I was looking up that stuff, a lot of them are just differences in grammar or using a word to mean something slightly different. So basically, we just arranged our grammar so we talk the same was more the thing.
Right. And learning, I was born knowing the craft, and nature taught me what I know. And I find that as a teacher has been a lot more useful to me than books. I've certainly read plenty of books because I was interested in the subject, but most of the books I read, and especially in the beginning, I would read them and I go like, "Oh, that's wrong. that's not the way it was." Especially when I was reading the stuff written about witches during the dark times and stuff like that.
And you start learning the rules and things, how things work, the basic underlying principles, and a lot of the differences go away.
Yes, it's the similarities that you start to see between magic works and energy works a specific way, and whatever trappings or definitions or mythologies or theories or whatever that you're using to do it, the underlying principles of how it works energetically are always the same.
Yeah, as long as you're looking at real stuff and not something that was just pulled out of somebody's.
Yeah. He's going, I think, to get something. So anyway, Tom says, I had let's see. Oh, so Brianna says, so maybe it did something for my brain, I don't know. Imagine says, I'll see if they have a store in Europe. I don't know if any of my friends are able to enter the US nowadays. Yeah, I did mine through the mail, so I don't know. Maybe they ship there. Tom says, I had an experience of being dragged out of my bed in astral form by an ET that said he was in England. Well, that sounds odd. Brianna says, but right when I start to panic, I lost consciousness, so whatever happened, my conscious mind probably couldn't handle it. And Brianna says, I believe it, Tom. Carla said, does anyone know what's going on with the comet? It's leaving our solar system and going on its merry way. And Carla says, we're sure it's not what the Mayans, I think, thought of as the blue Kachina. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not that. Oki Vizian Zav says, good day, good to see you two thriving and abundant. It was great learning from you this year. Do you recommend joining a spiritual order? What are the pros and cons? Okay, so depending on the order, the pros can be having a foundational group that has experience in teaching what they're doing. So that can be good, being a member of a specific group of people. Depends on the group. That's the bottom line there. Is like not all groups are equally good. And that is one of the cons because they're composed of people. And unfortunately, most groups, there's a lot of ego flying around. Most people in groups are not clear. It's really difficult to find someone of that caliber who isn't going to be projecting their own unresolved issues onto other members of the group and sort of going this back and forth kind of a thing. And some of those kinds of groups are also going to have like power struggles inside the group and whatnot, and with the ego thing getting involved again. So it's I've been in both. I've been in groups and solitary, and at this point in time, I prefer solitary because that way I'm more in control of my own boundaries and my own energy and time, and I can decide what I want to do and when I want to do it.
And I was in the OTO, and speaking of large group energy, and there was a lot of that infighting and backbiting, and I mean not in our little local thing here in Oregon at the time I was in consisted of about 4 people in the entire state. And we were all together in one car, and somebody joked that we got in a wreck could wipe out the entire OTO in the U.S.
Right.
We had the entire OTO in one car in Oregon at the time. Now they're a lot bigger, but you can't avoid that kind of thing in a group.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's part of being in relationships.
And you just have to be willing to put up with it because it happens regardless how you're not supposed to. I mean,
but also compare what the stated purpose of the group is, what their underlying principles are, and make sure that they align with your underlying principles, which is a good way to vet some kind of a group. And then if they don't actually uphold their underlying principles, get out because that means that they're lying. And like Ian is fond of saying, you can't make good decisions based on bad information. Yep. So if they give you bad information and talk about how great they are and how wonderful they are and how they have these high ideals, and then you join and they turn out not to be that way, don't blame yourself for being tricked. Blame them for being liars.
Well, it's a group, though. I mean, the OTO as an organization in its conception has high ideals. But again, like anything, it's not a perfect world. It's not a perfect OTO, and you got real members in there, and that's what you run into, regardless of the ideals,
Yeah.
Which, yeah. But to a certain extent, you can tell them by their fruits,
Right.
Yep. What are the people in it actually like, and judge them a lot by that.
And are they trying to lord it over other people? I mean, there's nothing wrong with necessarily having a degree system. That can just be recognition of how much you've learned and what you know and so forth and how far you've come and whatnot. But it can also turn into like a one-upsmanship and I'm better than you because I've been in here longer and according to other authorities, I know more, therefore you're an idiot.
That's a danger with any hierarchy, which includes Wicca. I mean, they've got 3 degrees, like I'm a master or
whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understand the purpose of a degree system, and it's supposed to be like a recognition of your progress, in my opinion. And that should be like basically what it means.
I would like to add a little addendum to that, though. Speaking of the OTO as a separate group, because the degrees in there are functional. Each one does a certain amount of energy and chakra activation on the individual in a specific fashion. So, in a way, it's not like you could skip one. You know what I mean? Because you have to have that particular activation, that particular initiation and energy shift before you can go to the next one. So, but it still that doesn't make anything that you said irrelevant in the slightest.
Right.
You still get the lording it over and everything.
So Brianna says people have even seen fairies and gnomes and spacecrafts with ETs and Bigfoot too. They're all in cahoots. Well, I don't think that the fairies are in cahoots with the aliens. Not in my experience, anyway. That's my personal opinion on that because the fairies have been here and part of the Earth sphere for long before humans ever came on the scene. And their main concern is about us, as in life, not us as in humans, but all life on Earth. So I think that might be a projection that we're making, try and make things seem better. I don't know, but that's my opinion. Stone Orchard says, what do you think about Foolish Fish YouTube channel? I really liked his overview of the ritual of the pentagram, mainly the drawing of the pentagram itself and the meaning behind it. I've never heard of Foolish Fish, so.
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I haven't viewed it either.
Oki says, sending you positive energy and healing light. Thank you, chat, for asking amazing questions. Yes, it's always fun. We enjoy it. Carla says, I've been wondering about that. Brianna says, yeah, that's the main reason I'm not in spiritual groups. Oki says, how would you go about naming a child? What system would you use to get a name that can personifies the identity you wish to convey for the child? I don't know, because I didn't care for my birth name, so I think let the kid choose their name when they're old enough to decide what they want to be aligned with.
Yeah, I
But in
agree
the
with
meantime,
that.
you have to call them something. I don't know. I mean, a name is a name is a name, but not necessarily. And so, yeah.
You know, if I was, if it was me and we weren't in our culture, I'd probably do it like where the person finds a name that means something to them, internal meaning. My coyote thing comes out of my totem animal. He told me he was my totem animal, and when he told me that, I realized that that was true. That I was in my human personality, I have coyote-like traits, a lot of them. So really, I would say the best thing people could do would to be willing to let people change their names once they're old enough to find it.
Well,
Like a
yeah, and
Native
the other thing
American
too
Vision
is if
Quest
you're
or
trying
something.
to specifically pick a name to sort of mold a child's personality, that can
Yeah,
be a huge mistake because the spirit that comes in is going to have its own identity. I mean, when I came into the world, I had very specific energy, and then life tried to destroy that and change it, and I don't think the name they gave me helped, but because I hated it. But anyway, but so uh, if the purpose of naming a child is to try and target its energy, its spirit in a specific direction, then I think that's probably a bad idea because the best option is to find out who the child is, what spirit actually decided to come through, and what does it mean, instead of like imposing it. I've seen stories of some cults where they've had children born to the cult leader or whatever, and then that child is assumed to become a new prophet of the cult later down the road and so forth, and the psychological damage to the kid is immense. But that's just who knows? I don't know. But Tom says, OKVs, make sure that you find legitimate people to teach you. There's a lot of debasement in magic. Yeah, that's a fact. Pam Dale says, hi, finally caught alive, but have been watching the reruns. The sacred tree explanation did help, and I'm doing the meditation more often. Feeling better, but no more happening. Well, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Imagine says, by the way, what is the flower of life?
geometrical diagram. You can look it up on Google. There isn't much. I did a quick look up of it, and there doesn't seem to be much genuine.
Info on Google.
Well, it doesn't really. It's just another symbol. It represents the unity and relationship between all being living things in the cosmos. And I mean, it doesn't seem anything that we need to talk about or deal with here. Anybody can look it up if you want, and it's just you can make all kinds of patterns to represent all kinds of things. It doesn't sound like it's got any deep magical usage that I'm aware of that says use meditation, healing, and spiritual practices to inspire balance, harmony, and awareness of limited potential. But don't mistake a symbol for magic.
Right.
The magic is, a symbol is just a symbol unless it's charged up properly.
And it's there to
And
help you
then,
maybe
yeah,
go in a certain direction in
and
your
the
mind.
symbols that have a particular relationship with the cosmos and a relationship with being used for thousands of years for magical purposes and things have a charge in them This looks more just like a mathematical and geometrical thing. I wouldn't expect to have any particular oomph. They're just a symbol, you know.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. Tom says, OKVs learn what magic is and isn't, and listen to these people how they talk about magic and discriminate if they are talking about it in a grounded way. Well, yeah.
True.
If
Yeah.
they're talking about it in terms that are meant to try and confuse you and impress you about their ability and their acumen, then they're probably not going to be very good teachers. I mean, teaching is supposed to be about being able to explain a concept or express some information in a way that is understandable to the student, the audience. And if the teacher is obfuscating everything that they say in such a way to make them sound mysterious and knowledgeable, they're not a real teacher. That's a good thing to keep in mind. I agree. You can tell a lot by how people talk about things. Brianna says, and you have no way to vary actual abilities just because someone's in a group.
That's true. It doesn't imply anything just because they're in the group.
True. And just because they're in a group doesn't mean that they're good people.
I mean, like, even in groups like the OTO and everything, you still got, best friends and people, getting advantages within the group and things like that, just because they're people.
Noki says, are there magical schools like Harry Potter?
Well, there kind of are. They're not quite like Harry Potter, but like there's been esoteric orders. So there's been the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was basically a magical school.
And there's a witchcraft school online.
One, yeah.
I think they're Corellian.
The OTO doesn't qualify because it's not a teaching order. It's an experiential order. You don't get taught as you go through it. You're given certain things to find out and learn, and you're left to yourself to learn those things. And then the initiations themselves develop and awaken certain energies in the individual for their own use. So that's a different kind of it's kind of like a magical school where they help your abilities and things, but it's not really teaching oriented.
So Shay says, I
there
like
are
that.
some others.
I like that, Siofra. Don't blame yourself for being tricked. Blame them for being liars. And definitely keep an ear out for others who behave the same way. Yep.
One I would recommend, which is a self-initiation type of school, is actually the Builders of the Adytum. It was originally founded by Paul Foster Case, who was originally in the original Golden Dawn. And that's a good one with a study at home course, and you paint your own tarot and things, and you do your own self-initiation and things. So it's kind of avoid a lot of the group issues because it's a pre-laid out course that's been taught, and you teach it to yourself and you do it yourself. So there are, and I'm sure there are a bunch of others I don't know about.
Except for the problem with some of their.
Well, it's not too bad. I
Yeah.
mean,
As with anything, nothing is perfect.
well, there was one which was actually kind of a funny
Mantras.
story. They have an auto suggestion thing where you work on this auto suggestion, but the one they gave you to work on, there's a story behind this. I don't want to go into that either. But the one they give you to work on is, I am getting stronger and stronger every day. Well, duh. My subconscious decided to take this literally, so I ended up having all kinds of job and works to do that were strength challenging, digging all the dirt out from under a house and just some major things. And I realized, yes, I was getting stronger and stronger every day.
Not the way you wanted.
But my subconscious wasn't interpreting it. Well, I did that little video on how to do auto-suggestion for the subconsciousness, so that'll tell you how to do it right. But so I was a little annoyed with some things like that. They got to think about how they word things. But really, that's a minor nitpick. I mean, it's a good alternative group, and Paul Foster Case seems to have been on to the true Hebrew Kabbalah, related to how Barden's is the key to the true Kabbalah. He seemed to have been on to the true Hebrew Kabbalah in a way that is more than just the gematria and stuff, but in a way to actually make things happen through it. And I feel he was real close to what Barden came up with, or what Barden's was. He came real close to it from what he remembered, and I have no doubt that the Hebrew could be used as a Kabbalistic system. It's a little bit different. You've got the colors of the letters vary according to which plane you want, mental, astral, physical. You got to choose a different color. So it's more complicated and harder, but he seems to have had that down. So
Okie says, thanks, Tom. And Shay says, and hello, everyone. Hi, Shay. Jono says, foolish fish is awesome. So we have a recommendation. Imagine Matt Mythical says, I gave up on groups because there are always those that don't believe in medication, and personally, I don't want to die, and that can't happen without it.
There's that true. That's true too.
And yeah, that's an important factor. I mean, there's a lot of times that they have certain restrictions on things and attitudes.
And in magical groups, you have to watch out because honestly, you might end up with a few, like, people that are short of a few loads of bricks in some cases, especially from local people and things. So yeah, all the people issues are basically the biggest thing.
So John says, except foolish fish cares more about the quality of the font and paper than the words. And Carla says, hi, Shay. And Shay says, right on, the discussion about names. A lot of rites of passage for youth becoming adults includes them choosing a new name. And hi, Carla. Rihanna says, I don't think ETs actually exist. I think they're part of the Earth because the ETs influenced my connection with Earth. I think they're actually local divas, not from another planet. Well, maybe they're not actually ETs because I've met actual ETs and they're not from here at all. So there may be more than one thing happening. It's just our words that we're using to describe them. So Oki says, how do you find the true soul of the child before you name them, and what ritual did you use to find your totem animal? Didn't use a ritual. The totem animal just came and touched you.
I'll talk about that a little bit. As far as finding the true soul of the child you name, I have no answer for that one whatsoever. Do you have?
No, I found out. I mean, I found my soul name, and it didn't come in a ritual or anything. I was standing by myself in the middle of a cabin in the middle of the woods, and a voice said my name aloud, and I knew that it was a sound that described the essence of my spirit, and that it was my true name. And so, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, with me, I was meditated a lot, and I've always been interested in Native American stuff and all that, and always had like an affinity for coyote, and always seen a lot of coyotes, and lived when I was a kid in a place where there were a lot of them, and basically. The first thing that happened, I was sitting there meditating, trying to keep a quiet mind, and I got this image of a big, strong white horse that came up to me, looked at my face, looked at me for a minute, and then wandered off. And nothing happened, and that was the end of that. But that was the start of this whole thing. So then, like the next day, I'm meditating again. No, it was the same. It was the same day, yeah. Coyote came up. And I had the same type of thing happen mentally, but Coyote came up and he sniffed me and then said, I'm your totem animal. And then it just all suddenly made sense.
You are mine.
And then we've seen bunches of coyotes from them. We had a bunch visit us when we were up at the cabin last time, which was really cool. So, yeah, basically, for whatever reason, I was getting in tune with nature and stuff helps with that. When I was focusing on getting in tune with nature, that's when I had a lot of plants talk to me also. So, but that was what happened. Basically, the horse rejected me. And, nope, wasn't my power animal. And then Coyote came up and said he was my totem. And then he's communicated to me a bunch of times since then.
Yep. And then Oki says, how do you charge a symbol? By understanding the nature of the symbol and using it over and over and over again.
And there's, again, a zillion ways to charge them. What Siofra was just talking about is charging it with willpower, where you just use it for that purpose over and over and over again. And that's kind of the same as charging up a mantra. You just keep doing it over and over. I mean, like if it's a pentagram, you draw it over and over or whatever. You charge it with willpower, and that's one way to do it. But another way to do it is you can use your willpower to draw an energy into it. So depending on what it's for, you could draw light energy into it. You could draw Mars energy into it, that would have the aspects of Mars and be red. Or you might draw some nice green Venus energy into it, which is healing and loving and all the aspects of Venus to it, and put that in it. So it all depends on what the symbol is for and what you want to use it for. And you should always come up with a symbol that sort of is in accord with what you want what the purpose of it is to be.
Right, and I didn't mean to say that it was just about willpower, because that's not what I was talking
Well,
about.
no, I didn't mean to
But
imply that either, but that's
but
the start of it.
understanding the symbol, having
Yes.
a deep understanding of the symbol is important to being able to know how to use it and how to charge it up and what it's good for.
Right, and
So,
you won't be able to get a good charge on it really without a good understanding of it. If you want it to function as a symbol and not just a thing,
right.
because I mean, you can charge up anything. You can just charge up a blank piece of rock, any kind of rock, and charge it up for any purpose you want, and it'll still work if you get enough of a charge on it. But choosing something appropriate makes it much easier. And it was something like a pentagram where you're making use of energies that have already been used many times in the past, and that's that much easier to draw the proper energies and things to it.
So Stone Orchard says, yes, Foolish Fish is great. Recommend to check it out. Also, the way he draws the pentagram was eye-opening to me. Brianna says, the idea of aliens is from Hollywood. No one historically recognized ETs, so I think it's ancient gods with new clothes. Because our society is technological, so the phenomenon responds to the collective mind.
Of course,
It's fine. I
yeah.
disagree. That's all there is
Well,
to that, because of what I saw.
yeah,
But
it's really pretty irrelevant, but
it doesn't matter.
We do know that they shot a missile, a
At
Hellfire
one,
missile,
and
and
it
bounced
off of it. So
something.
there are
Yeah.
physical objects in the sky. We have enough video
Yeah.
evidence
Of course,
at this point.
who knows what it really was,
But
yeah,
whatever it was
it
physical.
wasn't moving like human stuff does.
Exactly. So I think we need to keep an open mind instead of deciding we know what it is. Maybe that would be the best course of action, because we're limited in our information at this point and what we understand and what we know.
I kind of look that way about everything I know, that all of it is just like my best knowledge right at this moment until maybe I'll learn something new and it might all change, you know. I'm open. I'm always open. Most of the stuff doesn't change, but I'm always try to be open to let it if it needs to be. Because who needs delusion, you know? I'd rather face what really is if I have a choice.
Exactly. So Teresa says, I just noticed that today's live says December 21st. Yes, because it won't let me change it till after the live is over. They've taken away that feature from the YouTube channel. It used to be I would log in, I would change the date on it and change the description on it to reflect the day we were doing it, and then I would start it. And no longer can I do that. It doesn't show up. So that's just the way it's going to be from now on until they change it again. Outside of my power. So Oki says, has there ever been a witch war like World War II in comparison? There's certainly been witch wars, but
Yeah.
I don't know that people died and bombs were dropped.
No, but we did have one in Eugene, Salem area that wiped out most of the magical shops and things in that area for a while. We had been going up there and there was lots of magical things and things going on, and then we moved down to the coast and we lived down here for years, and we went back up there to visit and all the things were gone and the magical people weren't there, and
witch wars are the dumbest things on
Yep.
the planet, because then all the witches are throwing spells at each other and annihilating themselves in the process.
Yep.
Since it all comes back. So yeah, they're
Yep.
just out there destroying themselves
So
willy-nilly.
yes, and unfortunately that's one thing you have to watch out for. Some people just want to do that. That's another reason I have against groups. Cause,
Yeah, well, I don't agree with
against
that
another group
revenge
type of-
kind of
Well,
mentality.
no, yeah, neither of us do. So.
So Croc says, hello everyone. Hi Croc. Stone says, what kind of group practices would you suggest on getting into regardless, given that the practice is proper with private searches done regardless? I don't know.
Well, it kind of depends. This again is a little too open of a question, because what you want is something that's going to appeal to you. I mean, there's shamanic stuff, there's druidic stuff, there's actually a lot
What
of
fits
them.
your personality and your energy and your
Yeah,
purpose in
mean,
this life for learning?
Yeah, for example, and it's so individual, because I like shamanic stuff, but most of the Native American stuff, they like have I couldn't say most, I'm sorry, I apologize, but there's a difficulty in some cases with white people learning about shamanic stuff, and they want to keep it a secret, and they think white people are idiots, and they
And for good reason.
do things to,
So
well,
many
yeah,
of us are.
you know,
Yep.
and that's true. So in that case, for instance, Native American stuff, it would depend. I mean, we attended a sweat by
Charlie Tom.
Charlie Tom, and that group was great. You know, but we don't live around there, so
Yeah.
here we are. But so it depends more on the individual group.
I certainly recommend going to group
Yeah,
activities to experience their group
yeah,
energy.
and what type of energy is available? What type of energy you're at ease with? Because, for example, for some unknown reason, Indian stuff, Indian Hindu stuff appeals to me a whole lot, and the deities are fairly friendly towards me and
And
things.
me too,
Yeah,
for some
so
unknown reason.
you just never know. So I would take it if you got a general area study, like if you want, like Western magic, you could start looking at the Golden Dawn and some of those builders of the Adytum, or um, but I would say it's going to amount to the individual because
Magic is a personal path.
yes, and I will say this too. Everybody knows I've said a bunch of times that I was in the OTO for a while now. For me, for a while, it was great in Oregon because there were 4 or 5 of us in the OTO, um, and they were all my friends. So we didn't have the group issue, So it depends. But when they came into Oregon and they came in and they're blowing the walls out and doing the whole thing, and it's like, and then came all the parts that I didn't care for. So it can be so individual. I would say, you can look in general for a general type, but then try to find one that agrees with you. And if they just ends up being conflict and stuff, you're probably better off practicing alone. But I can recommend for Western Hermetic stuff because I've studied that enough. Some of the stuff there's like Crowley's AA, which I would actually, if we had a choice, I could have gotten it, would have liked to have gotten into that, but it turned out that you needed to go stay someplace and live with somebody who's actually in it for like 6 months or something. So I would have had to actually, or 2 months or something like. I
I
don't
don't
remember what it
remember.
was.
Yeah.
But at the time, there was nothing in Oregon at all.
You had to
Now,
go down to Los Angeles or
yes.
somewhere, or maybe San
So
Francisco.
yeah, so I'd look at find the type of stuff that appeals to you, and then look at specific cases and see if they appeal to you. Pay a lot of attention to the people because that's going to be aside from learning what you need to learn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you can learn something from a group and then move past what they're teaching you and learn
Yeah.
something different, or
Well,
discover that it's not suitable for you at that point, and there's
and
nothing wrong
frankly,
with going on.
I would have loved to have higher initiations in the OTO than I went, and I would have loved the rituals and things were excellent, and a lot of them were rewritten by Crowley. They were of the highest caliber, and I've got no problem with that. It's just a couple of things like the dues kept going up. Every degree you got, you had to pay more to still be in the group all the time. And we did occasionally get a free book, but so there were other issues like that ended up, and plus which it was all the way. Now we're down here in Coos Bay, and you know have to drive all the way up to Eugene or Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portland, and considering the degree I was getting up to, I had to drive up to Portland for initiations, and so
And
yeah,
we did that once.
yeah,
So I went with you for that one.
yeah. So it's all a mixed bag. You got to kind of take it all individually.
So Tom says self-initiation, when said, can be misconstrued because it's really the saving grace that finishes the job. You just build the momentum for initiation. And
Well,
the idea of
yeah.
self-initiation is controversial in a lot of groups because they say you can't self-initiate. You have to have someone else initiate you. And I'm like, someone got initiated first by the gods. It's
Well,
like, it can happen. And
well,
it depends on your definition of initiation. If it's
well,
initiation into a group, that's one thing.
yeah. It's it sounds like you're considering initiation like a final, like that's it, boom. But like in the OTO, for example, each initiation is a change in your chakras, your auric system that enables the different energy flows and things to be accessed. So each one is a genuine initiation. It doesn't totally change your life at once, but in gradual stages, little bit by little bit. And I would even say that there's. I don't want to go any farther with that.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah, yeah.
Carla says, I've never found any real practitioners around to even think about joining something in person. Jay says, Ian, what a great story about how Coyote chose you. Tom says, I thought once maybe I could change my name to Telesis. It means purpose, basically, or it's the name for the will of the universe.
I see no problem with changing your name to something you aspire for. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Brianna says, I experience all these beings as related to one another, not separate. That's why I think it's the same, because it's hard to distinguish. They even morph into one another and the energy blends. Like I said, just keep an open mind. And, when we try to define things too closely, then we can lose track of what the actual thing is going on. So, Oki says, what specific thing do you two admire about each magically? Like, are you most proud of her wands? I highly appreciate you two answering our questions. Truly a blessing.
Well, for me, specifically, wouldn't be a physical trait like the making the wands, which is nice. It's basically the underlying person being accepting and open to certain things, and magically that Shifra attempts to find the true the essence of things and not get caught up in all the frippery. I mean, all the wire wrapping is beautiful and stuff, and it's great, no doubt about it. And it's but that's a skill or talent and ability that can be learned. And what I appreciate most about Shifra isn't any of her abilities; it's her personality and the way she deals with things and with people. And a large part of it is the way she doesn't have ill intent. Um, if she does something to hurt somebody or something, it's accidentally, or unless she needs to, like, self defense is another matter entirely.
Yeah.
But that taking that out of there. So her magical characteristics I appreciate most are basic ones in her personality, not ability or things. Though she is honestly the best clairvoyant that I've ever met, and I've met few people who claim to be, but didn't impress me as such.
And
But
yeah, and it's a hard thing to. The first thing that attracted me to Ian was his heart. And that is sort of the core of it all for me, his heart energy. And and he's a kind and generous individual, and he doesn't try to hurt people on purpose either. And he wouldn't hurt anyone on purpose unless it was to defend us. And so, as far as what I admire the most about his magical abilities is he has a keen intellect, and he is very, very knowledgeable, and I can depend on him. And I know that I can. If I was like under some strange psychic attack or whatever, not that I think that would happen, but if I were, he could help. So he's not just an idea. He's a real person. And the thing I like about our relationship in general is that we accept each other for who we are and where we're at, which allows us to continue to grow and become more of who we are.
yeah, we're honest about what we do, and magically too about what we can do and what we can't do, and that's a good thing too. There's not a lot of put on about it, though we could easily, I could go parade around my OTO degree and stuff, and say, oh, I made it this far and blah blah blah, but we don't do that, and that's one of the things that really helps with our relationship too.
Yep.
You
And
know,
we're true partners.
yeah,
There's
we
no
don't.
power struggle.
There's not a power over or a power under. Yeah.
Yep. We've actually experienced the whole power with, which is what we
Yeah.
should all be aspiring towards. So, okay, now that I'm thoroughly embarrassed by that.
That's okay.
Brianna says, it's just how I experience reality. Everything seems blended into a cosmic soup. So when I try to separate and distinguish entities, it's harder for me to relate. That's fine. Like I said, it's just, everyone's going to relate and experience these things differently. But that's just my experience is different. Stone says, the informations you give are incredible. I am really grateful that I found you. Many blessings. Thank you, Stone. Oki says, the wisest man knows what he knows, that he knows nothing at all. And yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's one of my criteria. Someone comes at me and says, I know everything. I'm like, okay, go away, because you clearly don't.
Yeah.
Because you've
That's
missed
like
the very first lesson is that you don't know everything. That's
I like
like
these. I like
basic.
these books. Everything you wanted to know about this and
Yes,
that. You know, especially the magical ones are about
right. All
maybe
the secrets of
you know,
magic of the
maybe half an
universe,
inch thick.
like in this little tome, and I'm
Yep.
like, uh huh, okay.
Yep.
So Shay says, Siofra, Ian, do either of you know if there are links historically or esoterically between the deities' beliefs of ancient Egypt and the Hindu deities' beliefs of India? No, I don't know specifically. I haven't really looked into it.
No, they seem to me they seem distinct. I have a hard time with Egyptian stuff myself, but it really the Indian stuff just speaks to me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know of any connection there. I think the Egyptians had a lot of interesting stuff, but I'm
And I
afraid.
remember the
Well,
Egyptian gods and goddesses and
I'm
being in
afraid
them.
the thing is I would have to learn. It'd have to learn a whole new system. It'd be like starting over, you know. Though it is very interesting, and Edward Leeds Scalnan, who built the Coral Castle, and if you haven't experienced that, look it up. It's very interesting. The
Very
Coral Castle
interesting.
claims that he
Florida.
learned the secret of levitating rocks from the Egyptians from studying at his
And he
local
figured
library.
anybody could figure it out, so he never told anybody how he did it.
But he made these giant stone things, like giant, massive stone doors that a single person could just easily open and close. And then once the pivot wore out, even with modern construction tools, they never got it as smooth and clean opening as he did. Is always, even with their modern tools, they had a heck of a time lifting the stone door back up, you know, and putting it back in place and making a pivot for it. And it didn't work nearly as well as the one he designed and did all by himself with no help in the middle of the night when nobody knew.
Okay, so
Sorry.
Carlos says hearts, and Tom says, when going down the self initiation path, I think that self initiation is an automatic thing. There's nothing that the ego can do to have a spiritual awakening. Hopefully that clears what I meant.
Um,
Shay says, thank you. I'll look up the Coral Castle.
but there is things the ego can do because you can prepare yourself for it. I kind of agree with you on that. Um, but there are techniques of concentration and yoga and stuff that will awaken certain energies, and I guess, yeah, again, we might be talking about verbiage here because depending if how you're looking at the ego, then the ego can't spiritually awake, period. But there are things that you can do to accelerate that to happen. So again, it's all on, you know, what where you're talking from.
We're getting close to our time here, guys. So Shay says, thank you. I'll look up the Coral Castle. And Stone says, I struggle to understand what to do to attract the other sex. If there's a block of a kind, as if I don't understand what to do, what are your suggestions on the matter? Work on yourself. And don't worry about the opposite sex or other sex or whatever it happens to be. If you work on you and become clear and centered and grounded in yourself, then those kind of doors will start to open. Try to be more inward when it comes to that kind of thing. You can't find someone outside of yourself to fulfill anything that's missing in you. That's not how it works. If you're looking for someone else to fulfill a need that you have, then you're going to be in the wrong kind of relationship. So if you are being blocked, maybe your higher self is trying to keep you from making a mistake. And you work on your own inner stuff, go to therapy, learn more about your craft, whatever it happens to be. Work on your own projections, clear out those things that are in you. So that's my best advice. And learn that being alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely until you get to the point where you're not lonely when you're by yourself. There's that, the energy that you're putting out is going to be, I guess, too needy and push things away, maybe. I don't know, but that's one of the things. So Shay says, getting close to sign off time. Just want to say thank you, Siofra and Ian, for your integrity. Blessed be. Happy New Year, all. Thank you, Shay. And Melissa says, thank you again. And Carla says, great live, guys. Thanks so much, Siofra and Ian. See some of you later this week. Much love. Rock says, Siofra, I received my wire-wrapped jasper pendant yesterday, and it's absolutely stunning. Thank you so much. Oh, good. I'm so glad. And I'm Kathleen, by the way. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you. That was the very first piece I learned on, so I was like, wow, this is awesome. Imagine says, bye, everyone. Loved this live. Thank you. Stone Orchard says, great live. Thank you so much. Ian says, blessed be everyone. Thanks for your participation. All make this great. You all make this great. And Tom says, doing things to accelerate it isn't the ego, in my opinion, but for example, lusting for results ruins the surprise of awakening. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Our show is over. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next year. All right. Bye-bye. Blessed be everybody.
Someone has a slightly
Quiet.
superficial.
We're still on.